Hey, it's only a week later, and I've got another letter from TV licensing.
Welcome to Rouse House!
Yeah, only a week later. I've got another one. If you watch the last video, you'll see that I had a red envelope one, obviously very serious, and a week later they've just sent me some sort of generic thing, and I think this code is somewhat generic as well, so I didn't bother scrubbing that out. And even if it is pertaining to me, actually I don't care. I don't have anything against TV licensing as such, except to say that I really don't like the way they approach this. And because the number of license holders is falling, and that's no real surprise given the modern age we're now living in, and also there's a kind of kickback, isn't there? There's the TV license resistance and all of that, and I get that, but I don't really want to make this a full-time job, you know. But if they do come to the door, you know, I'm perfectly polite with them. I don't treat them well. You know, I wouldn't choose to do that job, but there's no need for me to give them a hard time about it. I'll just say, no, I haven't watched one in 20 years, and thank you very much, and shut the door. I am polite about it. But if that code is for my address, then feel free, come and visit me. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. What I would say is that now the licence fee has gone up again, hasn't it, in the last year, and the numbers of people paying for a TV licence is dwindling. Is it 7%, something like that, a year? I don't know. Clearly, that's not going to work in the longer term, is it? And the BBC have already been told that they've got to cut back. They've got to cut back on as much as they can, you know. And there's been lots in the headlines about, you know, salaries and all that. To be perfectly honest, I'm really not interested in that, and I'm certainly not interested in the BBC, and I'm certainly not interested in them, because I don't have a TV, as I said before. I don't watch any live broadcasts whatsoever. So that's it. That's me off the hook. And the fact is, if you were driving past my house, I mean, think about this. I've got the garage door open. On the wall, there's a fishing rod. Now, just because I've got a fishing rod does not mean that I go fishing and therefore require a licence, does it? No. And what is clear is that the younger generation, or the present generation, isn't watching television anymore. They're not. And I don't see how the BBC can encourage them back. I see no way of doing that. So the whole thing is dwindling. And when it comes up for Royal Charter again, they're going to have to seriously think about how they're going to fund the BBC. I know in Finland it's taken directly out of taxation, which brings me neatly to the subject of bias. And I've heard that mentioned a few times. The BBC is biased in this way, or it's biased in that way. Well, having been a journalist, and I've still got a journalist head on, one of the things I was taught very early on is that a journalist aims to be unbiased, knowing you never can fully be unbiased. That's just a fact. You know, I've tried many times, and it doesn't matter how you do it, somewhere in what you write there will be bias. But what I would say is, having watched the American TV news networks, notably MSNBC, which is clearly Democrat, and Fox News, headed by Rupert Murdoch, which is clearly Republican. Now, that is bias. I don't see that generally in the BBC. All right, we can argue the case, but what I would say, there's no comparison with the American news networks. If you really want to talk about bias when it comes to the BBC, do try watching MSNBC and Fox News. I dare you, and you will see what I mean. Anyway, that's enough on bias. The other thing, of course, is that our tastes have changed. Our viewing needs, habits, the sort of things we want in entertainment, that has all changed drastically since the advent of the internet. And, you know, I, for one, I got into YouTube, I don't know, was it perhaps 20 years ago at least, and I've never looked back. And I like it because, for me personally, often videos are quite short. They can be 3 or 4, 5 minutes. That's as much as I need, unless it's a documentary, and then I might watch the whole thing. But yeah, YouTube works for me, and even YouTube has turned to a sort of paid funding model. But I am virtually blind to adverts. I always have been. Even going around supermarkets, I just don't read these 2-for-1 offers and anything like that. I know what I want. I go in and I buy it, and I don't have one of these store cards, you know, so that, okay, you get money back off your bill, but, you know, they're tracking what you buy. I don't really want to be a guinea pig for all of that. You know, I'm very mindful where I put my name and address. And I know certainly with some companies, DIY companies, they ask for your name and address, or they ask for your email rather than an invoice. Because I suppose it cuts down on the paper, but I'm always concerned as to where that information is going. And this is why, when it comes to TV licensing in particular, that I decided not to contact them and say I don't require a TV license, because for me, that means then they've got my details, and I really don't see why they should have my details. I've committed no crime, and more to the point, TV licensing is contracted out to a private company. I'm certainly not going to provide my details to them. So there you go. This is the second one, and I know people get very angry about all this. I'm just more cynical about it. I just think, well, feel free, do what you like. But I'm really not intimidated by these letters in the slightest. And if TV licensing from this letter can work out who it was sent to, well, stop sending them, because it's just a complete waste of time. I am ignoring them, and it is costing you money. And like I say, I have no intention of getting in touch with them. Why should I have to email them or ring them or go on the website to prove I'm innocent? I don't have to. There you go. Anyway, that's week 2. I'm not going to make it a thing about TV licensing. I need to get on with the usual Rails House stuff. But as there were so many click-throughs on the last video, I thought, right, I'll do a follow-up. And feel free to comment underneath with a bit of common sense to it, hopefully. And you know, how you've approached it when you get these, particularly if you've chosen not to. I know there are some out there that do actually watch live broadcasts and still ignore them. That's where the whole thing gets rather murky, doesn't it? But I don't, and I've got no interest in television at all. I'm trying to think when the last time I watched BBC. Well, put it this way, Dirty Den in EastEnders, he was still in it. That was the first time round, not his comeback. That was the last time I watched it. And if I talk to friends about it, they all say the same thing. You're missing nothing. And I think that just about sums it up. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe.